minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Faction Factory, we are kicking off Custom Faction Month 2 with Encanto by my great teammate Geek13579. I wanted to say a few things about Custom Faction Month before I get into it. First, one of the reasons why I enjoyed this event is because I get to meet new people, regardless of whether or not they win, and Geek had an interesting submission of Norse Heroes last time, a theme I love, and has gone on to be a big part of the Brigand Games team, and I can think of many other great contributors that I've met similarly. Second, it's always interesting to see what types of factions people want to see in the game, particularly as they get aggregated into recurring themes, and one such theme is messing with the very rules of grammar. Lawyers did it, the journalists did it, and when Geeks first showed me Encanto, it had that kind of endearing, off-the-walls type of mechanic that makes you think very carefully about how dangerous we can get. Immediately from their leader Mirabelle, you can see that this faction is going in a particular direction. Mirabelle has the ability to virtually erase the word if from character on play, talents, and start of turn abilities, which are three discrete timings that makes it a lot harder for this ability to break the rules of reality. For example, Rainbow, Lonan's favorite minion ever. Ordinarily, you need to play another minion there to trigger it, but Mirabelle unlocks your true potential, allowing you to bypass the condition, and Rainbow becomes straight TDAC. To Geek's credit, he went through every card at the time and made a list of the affected cards, and while this could easily be an issue in the future, it's custom land, where everything magically works out. So what this leader tells me is that you can expect to see abilities that have conditions that are achievable, but difficult, and Mirabelle makes them easier. Using Isabella as an example, Isabella requires you to control 3 or more characters for her ability. While extra modifier plays aren't unique, it's the searching that really matters to me. It's easy to think that Mirabelle makes this too easy, but in reality it is just a 1 character discount because Mirabelle is the second character herself. So it helps to look through the characters through the lens of the benefit to feasibility. Dolores is a 3 who can gain 2 counters, and many good soldiers cap out at 5, but she also lets you look at a player's hand, which is valuable on its own. A good guess gets you 2 counters because you get the info either way, but she becomes a more dependable burst with Mirabelle. With an open-ended ability like Mirabelle, and the fact that IP factions tend to have more unique characters, it's no surprise to see a diverse collection of minion abilities, from searching to recursion to deck manipulation and many other abilities. Louisa has a collection of 3 diverse power boosting conditions, with the ability of gaining 3 power at daybreak. You test each condition, and for each condition that is passed, she gains a power counter, but what is interesting is that it is always done in a catch-up context. If you have more VP, you're winning. More characters in play, better board position. Cards in hand, better burst potential and more tactical options. So Louisa doesn't create a rich gets richer problem without Mirabelle, and Mirabelle gives you a steady means to achieve consistency. But she isn't the only source of that consistency. Antonio can search for Mirabelle while having a fallback plan if she is already in place. But something unexpected can also grant a portion of Mirabelle's power to another character as a character modifier. You'll notice that this action has a fallback plan, again if Mirabelle is already in play, that it prevents it from being just an actionized form of the leader. If Mirabelle is not in play, then the minion gets her power anyway. Then if she is, it gets a power boost. This is something Geek and I have often talked about. Cards with Plan A and Plan B so that they are rarely dead, and you have to dynamically plan based around the best situation to use them. It makes factions less scripted, and makes the player perspective and game state matter tremendously. As far as actions are concerned, given Isabella's searching, you can expect to find many character modifiers, each representing the diversity of powers given to the magical family. You have dueling +2 power modifiers, each offering a different form of protection. We don't talk about Bruno. In addition to being an objectively overrated song, is a really interesting double feature because it suppresses power when it matters most. In addition, it offers ability cancellation that can be played around. The most interesting character modifier is Waiting on a Miracle, which is a pay-to-play VP card. When played, you name an action that you want to disincentivize other people from playing. At first, I kind of hated this ability because forced VP loss is not fun unless it is really earned, and it has shades of the Geeks, which is kind of ironic given the author, but think about it. It's a disincentive. Maybe it shuts down Aladdin specifically because of their triple feature, but triple feature actions are rare, and double features are rarely the strongest, so it can be played around, but it also means that some actions might be worth it, like terraforming. Also, it doesn't interrupt your turn, which is where most of my geek angst comes from, so I think it has a place. I'd love to see someone play this and name Disenchant, as it would protect your other modifiers. Encanto has a nice mix of character modifiers that can be played on any player, with some trap-style cards like We Don't Talk About Bruno. This means that the Amazing Madrigals has a number of use cases with this special. It can work for overpayment strategies, it can be used to steal a base moving someone on or off, and it can be used to set up solos. But it can also be used for waste strategies to burn an extra minion. You have breathing room for waste strategies because you can move the unit with Bruno, only to let them be depowered significantly, which means that you don't have to lead by that much. Alternatively, the opposite is true, as the depowering from Bruno can open the door to save Mirabelle in an overpayment situation. There are elements of Encanto that have utility and ability cancellation at their core, but they also have the niche ability to unlock true potential. I'm going to be focusing on the latter because I think it is more fun, and because it seems to reset many cards to the Disney standard, where the removal of the if statement feels like a Disney card. The first is Mythic Horses, which has already been mentioned because of Lonan's favorite card. If you look at Rainbow, there is a ton of TDAC in Disney, and this normalizes it with a different, safer context. But you also get a nice boost of C-Star, who can now be a leadoff minion. Flexibility that I think the Mythic Horses really like, especially since both these factions like to spread. I think Pinkies are a good candidate for Abuela, since the power won't matter this turn anyway. Mythic Horses get a partner who can fix their draw order problems and give them the extra plays they want, and while it lacks traditional antagonism, it can be quite interesting and enjoyable. Anytime names are involved, people expect me to mention a faction whose name rhymes with Mosin, but I won't. Instead, we will look at a comparable faction known for names and utility, Grimm. Something unexpected here has an interesting benefit of getting both effects with Grimm's Blessing out. Mirabelle lets the Charming spread out, which is crucial since Charming Princess is localized. While there are some odd combinations, like Big Bad Wolf being able to destroy while Red Riding Hood is out, but Red Riding Hood still being cancelled, the Grimm minions are the type of ability whose ifs should not apply, so I have no problem with that. Both factions have the searching tools to get what the other is looking for. This includes the Charming couple who, with the pair split up, keeps you from telegraphing your true targets and making the most of each faction's movement card. It's somewhat amusing, but Mirabelle makes every halfling card the same. Quarterlings and Bardlings become Pestlings, like you Rude Awakening them all. However, what this does is not force you to overpay. It lets you use the timing of Lunch Run well, and try to advance on 2 bases at once without having to dump your whole hand. Given that halflings want to play catch-up anyway, and that they have plenty of extra plays, some of which may not always be relevant, I do find them Abuela friendly since they don't care about being cancelled. After all, halflings were one of the first factions to have ability cancellation. Anytime you have a diverse recruit spread, you have to think killer plants, but Encanto does something notable as it actually lets Weed Eater do something. Abuela is very Weed Eater friendly, as it actually lets you play them to their full potential terminally, and you finally have a reason to grab them with budding. Even the Sprouts are Abuela friendly, since they won't be activating that turn anyway. Julieta may not last very long, because she offers easy to achieve overgrowth recursion and character recursion that the plants want. This turns overgrowth into a roughly 3-turn cadence. With some proper setup, it is possible to set up a solo overgrowth play every 3 turns, but it is super hard to do and cannot be done without investment on the 2 bases that aren't scoring, so it can be busted up easily. But it is still a fun combo that manages to overcome the lack of common names for Budding and Blossom. For my final combo, I want to talk about a faction I rarely talk about, and that's Kung Fu Fighters, because they are surprisingly affected by Mirabelle. The Drunken Warriors actually feel great, able to generate a counter every turn. But it's Lady Whirlwind who gets the biggest buff, as she can now destroy anything with less power than her. This makes her very expert timing friendly, as you can send her counters to increase what she is capable of destroying, and not have to worry about buffing her up without non-counters. Kung Fu can also utilize the counters generated from Luisa, which is what you want. High counter quantity on a singular minion. I'm always interested when Kung Fu gets a non-power counter-centric combo. Even though Encanto has them, they aren't defined by them. Mirabelle is one of those tantingly dangerous abilities that have you give cards a second look and can produce some interesting unexpected effects. What do you think of Encanto, and who are you going to try them with? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, let's shut it down.